Welcome to the Divorced Dad's Guide, a collaboration between dadsdivorce.com and singledad.com. This is a series of videos that focus on helpful parenting tips for single dads facing the unique challenges presented to them post-divorce. I'm Matt Allen, the editor of dadsdivorce.com, and joining me is single parenting expert RJ, the founder of singledad.com. Now, the subject of today's video is exchanging the kids, and we'll discuss the do's and don'ts of child custody exchanges. Now, first, RJ, you bring up the example in previous posts you've done for Single Dad and Dad's Divorce about the playground at the fast food restaurant. Will you talk about that example, that typical scenario, and sort of what you mean by that?
Absolutely, Matt. Well, one of the reasons why I founded singledad.com was based on this horrific scene that happens over and over again anywhere in the United States. And I witnessed it myself here in San Diego. And what happens when it comes to our children in our custody exchange is that we obviously have to find a spot where we exchange kids. And one of the things that inspired me to start Single Dad was based on this one scene that I saw at a local fast food restaurant. And so it kind of played out like this. There was a dad waiting in the playground area of a fast food restaurant chain. Mom came with the kids pouring in. Dad stood up. Mom dropped the kids off. Kids take off, run into the playground. Dad sits back down. Basically, head up, hand in his head and looking down like, he's basically on the clock. Right. And I figured, well, I put two and two together and I thought, you know what? I'm going to hang out and just watch what happens. And basically the guy just sat there watching his watch as the kids are playing, gets them a meal, I should say, gets them some food. The kids sit down a little bit with the dad and the kids go back out and play. Well, I decided to go just out of curiosity. I walked up to the guy and asked him what he was doing, introduced myself, and he basically was on the clock. He had 2 hours to be with his kids, and the amount of time he said he had wasn't long enough to get his kids in his car back to his apartment to be with them. And this was the best place to be at that allowed his ex to drop off and pick up the kids. And to me, that just that was a dagger in the heart to see this father reduced to just basically a play date at a fast food restaurant and basically letting the kids play in a playground. So when I talk about the playground in the fast food restaurant, is my passion or my drive, my advocacy is to help dads know what their rights are and know that they can get extended time and have the opportunity to be fathers more than just a play date at a fast food restaurant.
Right. So to help dads avoid that example you brought up, let's talk about some of the best practices you can do when arranging pickups and drop-offs. So what should you do when talking about the time, location, the details of these exchanges? What are the best things guys should keep in mind?
I think most of the things that are going to benefit and maximize your time is to over-communicate your schedule with your ex-spouse. And what that means is get everything in writing, use the email as your backup, the day before, the day of, an hour before, send that email again, just reminding we're going to meet at this place at this time so I can be able to be ready to go. That way you've covered your bases. The last thing you want to do is send a voicemail or a text. I try to encourage people, do not use your phone. I think putting it in email, having documentation so that you are consistent in terms of your parenting style and you're consistent on your custody schedule is always going to help you out in the end.
Well, we talked about the do's, let's talk about the don'ts. What are things you definitely want to avoid when setting up these custody exchanges?
Well, for most divorced dads, we all move on and we end up meeting new women in our lives, getting girlfriends. And I'm always telling my members on singledad.com that when it comes to the kid exchanges, keep your personal life personal and your family life with family. And what that means is don't show up on your kid exchange with a girlfriend or a friend that's a girl or a gal pal or whatever you want to call it. Don't do that. You're only causing more drama in the environment in an already volatile situation. The other thing is find a neutral spot in terms of picking up and dropping off. I always like to tell the guys on my website, find a neutral stadium. Try to find a neutral stadium where you're going to have the home team and the visiting team are exactly at the same place that are on equal terms, because you never want to be able to put yourself in a position where there's an opportunity for a personal discussion that has nothing to do with the kids that erupts, and all of a sudden the children are there. And remember, kids remember everything. And I'm always telling my dads is make sure you pick them up on time, don't bring a girlfriend, and make sure that if you're going to be there on time and no girlfriend, pick a place that is in public that's going to be consistent with the drop-offs and pickups. I'm always encouraging school drop-offs and school pickups, just because school is a place where the kids can identify the pickups and the drop-offs and makes things a lot simple for both parties.
Now, finally, you've talked about communication and over-communicating before these actual pickups and drop-offs occur. But what about communication at the actual point of contact? How do you handle that? Should the kids be exchanging messages between the two of you? Do you discuss, certain problems you two are having at these custody exchanges? How do you deal with that?
Well, you can always control yourself. You can never control the other person. So you've got to really, all the dads that are out there listening to this, is you've got to remember kids can easily adopt a role in that co-parenting relationship by becoming spies. And what I mean by spies is they feel that they're helping out or protecting one parent over the other, and they like to get involved in communicating or maybe over communicating what's going on at the other person's house. I'm always telling the dads, look, you don't need any more drama in your life, and the last thing you want to do is get your kids involved by being spies. So I'm always telling the guys, don't create spies amongst your children. In the long run, it's going to hurt you. And the bottom line is, as long as your children are not being harmed in an emotional or physical way, if they want to share information with you that is pertinent to those areas, that's certainly okay. And that's definitely something I support. But when it comes to just the days in and days out activities with mom and what's going on at mom's house, I really strongly rule against that. And I'm really firm about that, because you want to be able to establish a positive co-parenting relationship. And also you want to let the children know that everything's okay and they don't have to watch over the other parent for you. And a lot of times dads, as well as moms, jump into that game where they heard this and they want to validate that. And what happens is that only escalates a situation in a co-parenting relationship. And you just don't need that kind of drama in your life. Being a parent is hard enough. Being a divorced dad is hard enough. You just don't want to drag in any more drama.
Well, that was RJ, the founder of SingleDad.com, with his list of do's and don'ts at child custody exchanges. And this has been part of the Divorced Dad's Guide, a collaboration between dadsdivorce.com and SingleDad.com. I'm Matt Allen, editor of dadsdivorce.com, and that'll do it for this one.